Uh, in fact, this presentation was prepared jointly by me, Yasemin, and Dilek Inal, a colleague of ours at Istanbul University. In fact, we tried to summarize and reflect upon the results we obtained from a series of symposia which were conducted last year. In fact, it was 4 symposia there about the EMI programs in Turkey, or the problems of EMI programs in Turkey. I mean, English medium instruction programs. By the way, it just occurred to me I didn't introduce myself in my opening speech. Sometimes I get the feeling that I'm too famous to be introduced. But, what I would like to emphasize here is that I'm an engineer. I'm originally an electronics engineer. My expertise is more on control engineering side, and now I'm the head of a computer engineering department, and I'm trying to establish a mechatronics engineering department. So at the end of the day, I'm an engineer. I can do engineering of any type, I guess. But so, what am I doing here? Yes, because I'm in the kitchen. That is, you teach English, but it's really us people like me in engineering, psychology, medicine, economics, who are in a position of, as Peter suggested, sandwiched between the pressures of coming from the student and from the dean or rector to the university, to balance the needs of both sides, not only as far as content, but as also the language of the instruction is concerned. So, having in mind, let me start first of all. I mean, since we are now talking about Turkey, it's a country in expanding circle, as I found out from Yasemin's talk. So, I mean, really, Turkey is a country where you can pertain quite a power to English. Not only if your job or if your relations are international, but also in intranational aspects or issues, English proves to be an advantage for people, especially in domains of trade, tourism, and education, right? So I mean, maybe also in other domains, but if you are dealing with any one of them, if you are a teacher or if you are in a tourism business or a trade, that doesn't go without an English, really. And in fact, it's now become the primary foreign language at all levels of institutional education. So, I mean, since maybe 2 decades, the education of English expanded, quite a lot quantitatively. It's you to judge the quality, but I mean, people are now starting to learn English from the primary school on, sometimes from the kindergarten level up to the PhD. They learn English and they learn English. That's all from a personal perspective, but even from the institutional perspective, if you are a university decision maker, and from the university or from other education institutions' point of view, it's a must tool for internationalization, and it's really also adding to the prestige of the institution besides the people, as we said a couple of minutes ago. Now, I think maybe we'd better to look at a couple of numbers in what way this approach internationalizes things or education in Turkey. These are numbers from a 2017 report. Well, the numbers are about the 2014, but of course, the majority of undergraduate programs in Turkey is Turkish. That's quite natural, but I think the number of English programs is something not to be underestimated. There used to be also mixed programs. I mean, like 30% or 50% English and 70 or 50% Turkish. But I think that they are getting less and less. It's becoming a matter of Turkish or English once and for all. The mixed programs are, I think, losing quite popularity in Turkey. Well, there are also some other programs, but they are really less. I mean, as far as the academic staff is concerned, well, here we have the. Oops, sorry. I mean, by academic staff, I mean the staff in teaching content in undergraduate, whereas language instructors are either prep school instructors or English instructors in English support units of the faculties. Well, yes, they almost in all cases, except maybe for those coming from Azerbaijan, this column dominates the academic staff. So, although usually in a university, maybe less than 10% of the academic staff teaches English in a prep school. I mean, this numbers show that the balance is. I mean, we are much more keen on using foreign staff in teaching English. Interestingly, yes, there are. I mean, the majority was from the States, and the UK is on the upper levels. But interestingly, the reason that USA and UK is in the top, close to the top here, is obvious to everybody, I guess. But yeah, we have also quite many foreign or international staff from Syria and Azerbaijan. That's what is maybe striking here. Well, as far, I mean, if it comes to employing language instructors, we can say that, I mean, the non-native speakers are really not so. Their number is not so small. Well, if you also consider this as on the side of the non-native speakers speaking count stuff. I think that's the crucial or important starting point. Why are we so keen on using English as a medium of instructions? Well, from the student's point of view, interestingly, we found out that it's something that consolidates English skills of the students that were acquired before the undergraduate studies. I mean, even also in this 4 symposia, we also had students among the participants, and they all pointed out that their English skills, they believe, have improved during the undergraduate, from the freshman to the senior level. Of course, the English helps the students to extend their career and job opportunities from a national setting to international one. And well, it's not only a matter of finding a job or a good career, but it's generally it's considered as part of the international identity, right? So if you speak English, you are close becoming a world citizen, maybe. But again, not only on the personal side, but on the institutional side, because that should be also considered as an important point. It's the institutions, it's the decision makers who decide for EMI. It's also noted that it contributes to the prestige of the universities. That's also, I think, typical for universities in the expanding circle as well as in Turkey. So what we did, again, once more, we had 4 workshops in 4 symposia which were conducted in Istanbul, Izmir, Cyprus, and Ankara. And we had, well, at each one of them we had about 150 maybe or so participants. And the participants were, or they included decision makers, usually provosts, well, a couple of rectors, a number of rectors, English prep school directors, and English teachers of this prep school, as well as the English teachers who are teaching at the undergraduate level. And also, yes, that I was one of them, EMI content instructors, I mean people who teach the content in English. So we asked them 6 questions, and here is what we got, or how we can summarize what we got as the answers. So we asked them about the pros and cons of EMI, right? Well, the pros, I mean, maybe you can guess, of course, everybody talks about the better career and job opportunities, and ease in accessing scientific sources, and, well, ability of following professional advances and of international communication. In other words, worldwide adaptability. So, which you can interpret as part of the international identity, I guess. But on the con side, interestingly, everybody agrees that students lose motivation and self-confidence in an EMI setting. If you try to teach them in English, I mean, if you are Turkish and they are Turkish, and if you try to teach them English, they are shocked and blocked. Well, a little bit exaggeration, but that's what happens, is close to that, I guess. Well, everybody talks about the problems related to students' language competency, but not only that, really the language competency of the instructors are also scrutinized. So it's something like, yes, EMI is great, but only if we could have spoken English, right? Well, what major requirements of an EMI university would you think is necessary? We asked them, and they talked about the competency of English as far as the academic stuff is concerned. They also mentioned that the university must have a well-defined language policy. I mean, rather than turning everything, all the programs to English, people usually believe that there is no planning in doing that, right? It's just sort of a trendy development that universities are opening English programs over and over again. So, but without really thinking about it in a well-defined and internalized policy. Ease in access worldwide scientific resources is, of course, it's the benefit of EMI as well as a requirement. So you have to be able to, you have good, a good electronic library, for example. And the last point is, I think, the most interesting to me, adoption of quality assurance approaches in education. Well, nowadays we are all, in many departments we are in a process of accreditation nowadays. When I say nowadays, after 2015, where the Bologna process required all the programs to go to work towards accreditations. Yes, of course, the programs would like to certify that they have quality assurance, but the quality assurance of EMI is, well, I don't think there is anything done about that yet. That is, the quality assurance that, or the assurance of that you have a good quality, you are using English as a medium instruction effectively. So it turns out that we need measures, we need criteria to check this. Yeah, the coordination of English prep schools and EMI departments always is a debate. Well, the solution or the resolution which is reached at this point is that the prep school students should be somehow involved in departmental activities, so that they should not be left alone in the prep school. So that the universities must do something to develop their belongingness, to departmental belongingness. And therefore, rather than having prep schools which are isolated islands where only English is spoken, well, because there's also some approach which defends this sort of application, but rather than that, they should share the same campuses with the departments, right? I mean, that's I think which I would find out with surprise that it's also defended on the prep school stuff in these workshops. Well, EMI is, of course, changes the campus life in many different ways. Of course, the international and exchange students the number of them are boosted. That's natural. And, well, the code switching is an everyday experience. And it also penetrates into the, well, it should be part of the official language anyway, but it also penetrates into the non-official communication as well. I mean, the multilinguality. Yeah, that's another issue which people debated on quite a lot, whether the content instructors should aim or could aim to improve the English skills of the students, because we just note that the EMI can help to consolidate the students' English skills. That's what also the students say. But, well, the instructors are on the opposite view, that no, it's not our job. In fact, it's not our, I mean, we are not eligible, we are not trained to do that, in fact, which I also agree to. But what they can do is they may direct students to English medium learning, right? And they may create opportunities for the students to use their English skills. How they can do that is maybe the last questions, among the last questions answered. So how then should we change our pedagogical approach when we are teaching English? Well, we can use more visual teaching material. We can use more interactive methods. We can use more innovative methods like flipped classroom, blended teaching, but all of them, maybe except visual teaching. I mean, the other two items are really what maybe you should do even if you don't teach in English. I mean, these are just innovative teaching methods. Yes, they may help the problems in EMI class. Well, another suggestion was, for example, providing some terminology and keywords before the lectures. But what's striking here is the question was really not biased. The question was, what changes in pedagogical approaches are needed in an EMI classroom? And everybody understood this question as, well, what changes are necessary in order to overcome the disadvantages, the cons of the EMI. So now, yes, we have EMI, but, well, it's something troublesome. So we have to take these precautions to overcome all these disadvantages. But nobody really cared to talk about, to exploit the advantages of EMI, because there is a reason we are doing EMI in the classroom, to exploit, to enhance, to amplify these disadvantages. So the general situation seems to be, seems now that, yes, we accept EMI, but it's problematic. So we have to take precautions. I mean, we are sort of in a sort of confused dilemma, I guess. Okay, so, I mean, as the conclusion, I should emphasize maybe two things. In fact, maybe related to the first two items here. Well, the contribution of whatever you call it, world English as an international language, or English as a lingua franca, to me, well, I'm not an expert to differentiate between these three terms, really, but they must be, I mean, all this must be well understood to improve an EMI class. That is, EMI is essentially a practice of ELF, right? So you are Turkish, well, in my setting. The students, most of this is, by the way, Bitter. It's an official cat of the university. I mean, yes, the instructor is Turkish, the students are Turkish. Well, majority of them. There are, of course, international students, well, many international students in our class, but I mean, the majority, more than 50%, I can easily say, is Turkish. And we are communicating in English. So that's ELF, and therefore even the content instructors must acquire some ELF awareness. But I think more than that, maybe the teachers who teach English for EMI purposes must be also aware of this. On the other hand, the fact that EMI is so popular needs to be reassessed. What I mean by this is the following. Yes, EMI has all these advantages. I mean, it consolidates language. It gives you using a language professionally. Yes, that's okay. But on the other hand, the question is still in the air. Do we educate better engineers, doctors, psychologists, or economists by teaching them the content in English? To me, I mean, it's not so obvious. I mean, the no or yes is not so obvious because, yes, I mean, communicating or teaching in one's own first tongue is, of course, could be much more advantageous to transmit the content. But on the other hand, there are also pedagogical advantages EMI brings to a classroom, or to a lecture, to a course, I mean, expanding your resources which you can access to teach or to learn this course, for example. So that issue is, I think, debatable. But I mean, in any case, that has to be reassessed quite carefully, so that we can establish well-defined and internalized language policies at the universities. That's all I can talk about this thing, I think. So, yeah, these are our emails. So, questions and comments are always welcomed. Okay? Thank you.